evacuated the building likely.
And we do want to mention now, Google just moments ago releasing a statement saying they are coordinating with authorities right now and they will provide official information as soon as it becomes available to them. Of course, we're getting all of this information as you are as well. So this, again, what we do know is that there was a shooting at YouTube headquarters, several people injured, being taken to nearby hospitals, including SF General and Stanford Hospital. They were taken away by ambulance, according to several people in that scene. A group of employees are outside right now. I believe that's where what that line is. It looks to be employees, a mix of law enforcement and firefighters, paramedics on the scene as well, but that does look to be Google employees at the moment.
All right, very good. And I believe we have our reporter Mary Lee live. She is on the scene, on the ground there near YouTube headquarters in San Bruno. Mary, what can you tell us?
Well, we just arrived on scene here on Cherry Avenue, and this is the farthest that we can go before police told us we couldn't go any farther. But you can see all of the activity down Cherry Avenue, all of those police cars there. A lot of people looking and trying to figure out what is happening. A lot of bystanders looking out here. But we can hear the helicopters flying overhead. And what we do know is that it was an outdoor seating area. The YouTube headquarters, Chopper 5, was on scene overhead, and has video of people coming out with their hands up. We don't know how many victims, how many people have been injured, but the victims are being transported to Stanford and General out here. But back out live, you can really see all of the officers, all of the police cars out here. And again, this is the farthest that we can go. We just arrived out here. But again, we're on Cherry Avenue, and of course, we'll bring you the very latest as soon as we get it. Back to you.
All right, Mary, exactly how close can you get at this point? I mean, how many streets are blocked off? I know it's difficult because you're only getting one perspective at this time, but this is the best information we're able to get at this point.
Well, this is as far as we can go. We have this police car, and that's just, we're on Cherry Avenue here. We're trying to get to the media staging area to get some more information. But it looks like it's just a block away, what we can see, where the officers are. We see some officers here running toward where it is a little bit closer to where the activity and where the action is. But this is as close as we can get from what we can see, with all of the officers, all of the police lights out there, and we'll try to get as much information as we can.
All right, Mary Lee live for us right now in San Bruno. Thanks for that. We'll be checking in with you in a few moments. She's saying that she's seeing more officers running to the scene. This is very much breaking news, active shooter situation ongoing here at YouTube headquarters. We're not getting a lot of information from authorities right now, but our best pictures right now from Chopper 5 overhead right now. You can see some people, they appear to be emergency workers, in part, walking away from the area, trying to convene there in the parking lot to figure out their next move and whether or not the danger is still present there in the building.
And we are getting, we have put in calls and emails to YouTube representatives, so of course we do want to wait for official word from them. San Bruno police, though, are confirming they are searching for an active shooter. And Andrea Borba is live at the scene as well, so let's check in now with Andrea. Andrea, where are you? What can you tell us? Of course, our crews are working to get a live picture for you and live updates for you. So we do have several crews out there that we are working to get to provide you more information. We also are hearing from City Manager Connie Jackson, and she says there have been multiple 911 calls reporting this shooting, and that police and fire officials, of course, as we are seeing this live, have all been responding. So multiple calls. This is obviously a serious situation for them, since they are saying there is an active shooter that they're searching for right now. That's according to San Bruno police. They are confirming that they are searching for an active shooter. We are hearing multiple injuries. People were taken to nearby hospitals, including SF General and Stanford Hospital. And also, just looking at where this is located, right off of Cherry Avenue, several streets nearby are being blocked off. Bay Hill Drive, Traeger Avenue. There are several office complexes in that area. Here's the map for you right now. There's the YouTube headquarters right off of 380 there, the Quinton Cop Freeway, and Cherry Avenue is the location for the YouTube headquarters, but nearby Bay Hill Drive is also marked in yellow there, and it intersects Cherry, Bay Hill Drive. Traeger Avenue is nearby as well, so that looks to be a Walmart e-commerce corporate office right across the street from YouTube as well. And the Department of Social Services, people in that building have also been advised to stay back. There are several people who work in that area, quite a few complexes. You can see a parking lot, parking garage right there. And just to reiterate also, the YouTube headquarters where this happened, we are hearing reports that it happened at the cafe. It's an area with red umbrellas that were on the roof of the YouTube headquarters, it looked like, or in a courtyard, and that's where police were putting evidence markers on the scene just moments ago. And right now we're looking at a live picture on the ground of several police vehicles and fire engines. Ambulances also were out there.
All right, and to keep you posted, we have, again, several reports of patients being shot, people who have been shot, taken to San Francisco General. No idea right now how many people we're talking about, but that information is confirmed. So several people have already fallen victim to this active shooter who at this point, according to the police department, is still active within that complex. We have not heard any differently, and not hearing much right now from YouTube itself. Google, the parent company, sent out a statement saying that they are working with authorities on this emergency. And now we can see a group of people there outside of that fence. Not sure exactly what they're doing, but those might have been some of the people that were inside of the building. Hearing reports of people who were inside running out with their hands up as police ran into the building. And we just heard from our reporter Mary Lee there on the ground. She's on Cherry Avenue, that there were a lot of officers on foot running toward the scene at this point.
And also, San Francisco General Hospital spokesperson said this hospital has received patients from this incident, but could not confirm a number of how many patients, how many victims there are here. And there's a man who was working at that facility there, writing on Twitter. Just around 1 o'clock, he heard shots and saw people running while at his desk before he had to then barricade himself inside a room with other co-workers. So it looks like this is someone who's inside the YouTube headquarters there, who was writing on Twitter about this at around 1 o'clock today.
All right, let's get back to our reporter Mary Lee.
Breaking news on KCAL 9 this afternoon. You are watching live coverage from San Francisco of an active shooter situation at the YouTube headquarters in San Bruno. Let's go ahead and rejoin our CBS affiliate there in San Francisco.
You can see all of those, sorry, I was running, those police officers and cop cars. You can see the red lights flashing here. That is where we think the activity is, and the scene of this here. And we're going to try to get some more information for you as soon as possible. But this was the outdoor seating area of the YouTube headquarters where this possible shooting happened. Chopper 5 was overhead and had video of people coming out with their hands up. We don't know how many people have been injured, but their victims are taken to Stanford and to General. And this is as far as we can go, but I'm going to try to get even closer to get some more information for you because we have a lot of questions, a lot of things that we do want to get answered here, and we're going to try to talk to some officers to get that information for you here. But this is as far right now as we can get, but again, I'm going to try to get closer for you to get some more information. We're on Cherry Avenue, and it does look like we're just about a block away from where this happened. And we're hearing all of the helicopters, and we will try to get as much information as possible. Back to you.
Live on Mary Lee, live on the scene for us. Thank you. And our pictures right now from Chopper 5 there on the right-hand side of your screen. We're seeing groups of people gathered outside of the YouTube headquarters. Just to remind you, we're talking about the YouTube headquarters in San Bruno. It's very close to the intersection of 280 and 380. And we want to bring you again the statement from Google, which is the parent company of YouTube. It said, "We are coordinating with authorities and will provide official information information here from Google and YouTube as it becomes available. So the confirmation that we've gotten from the San Bruno Police Department is that there is still an active shooter on scene, and we have not heard differently. So the danger at this point does not appear to be over. That's why they really want people to stay away from that area, specifically Cherry and Bay Streets. As Mary Lee said, a lot of streets around that area are shut down, and a massive law enforcement presence coming from all over the Bay Area to respond to this. That is after law enforcement got multiple calls to 911 saying that there was an active shooter in the building today, and this happened just after 1 p.m.
And there are several people who were inside who, of course, take to social media, as people often do when this incident happened. So it was right around 1 o'clock, and another man inside the building said they were sitting in a meeting and they heard people running. They heard the rumbling on the floor. At first, they thought it was an earthquake because of all the people who were trying to get out of the building there at YouTube. And then someone else on Twitter also wrote there's definitely some kind of police action, possible shooting. My brother and others went running out of the building. He says they heard firecracker-like sounds. And then he also reports 5 police cars came rushing to the scene. But, of course, there's been several more. This came out around 1 o'clock when people really started to take to Twitter to report these possible shots fired. And now we, of course, have the confirmation that shots were, in fact, fired. And San Bruno police are, in fact, looking for this active shooter. And Bay Hill Drive and Cherry Avenue, the exact location of where they said that they were blocking off that area. Same with Traeger, that's nearby. But Cherry and Bay Hill in the San Bruno area, right off of Freeway 380 is right off of that location, so they're asking people obviously to stay away. And as the Chopper 5 is panning around the building, you can definitely see fire trucks, several police vehicles, all different types, some SWAT vehicles as well, it looked like, and police cars and vans, as much as they could get out onto the scene, of course, because this is an active shooter with multiple injuries, as we have been hearing. And police have confirmed that, so they are telling people, please stay out of the area. The police activity at 901 Cherry Avenue is what they tweeted out earlier, advising people to stay away.
And we're also hearing now that the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms is responding to the scene. That is in addition to all of the local law enforcement officers that we have there from San Francisco, the San Mateo County Sheriff's Department, San Bruno Police Department, all there on the scene of the YouTube headquarters in San Bruno. To back this up, this started just after 1 p.m., and we're hearing that the shooting started at an outdoor cafe there at YouTube. You can see where the building is there on your screen, again, right by the intersection of 280 and 380 in San Bruno. And we have no idea how many people have been shot, but multiple people, and they are already on the way to the hospital at San Francisco General. They're not giving us any confirmation of the number of people or these people's conditions at this point. And we also don't know if there could be more victims still in the building, nor if the shooter is still in there, or what that person, or persons for that matter, status is. We are just watching these live pictures along with you being taken right now from Chopper 5. An unknown number of victims after a shooting took place there as law enforcement tries to secure that scene. It's a very large area, so it's difficult to make sure that you have people out safely and to be able to zero in on a suspect or suspects at this point. We saw earlier people running out of the building with their hands up as police ran into the building. So this is something that they are still trying to clear at this point and figure out what kind of danger there may still be present.
And it does look like several employees are outside along with law enforcement and firefighters. Of course, they brought people from several different agencies out there. City Manager Connie Jackson saying, of course, they had multiple 911 calls reporting the shooting. Police and fire officials from all over nearby locations have all responded. You can see that heavy presence out there. Of course, this is quite an active scene still, and it all started again at that outdoor cafe. If Chopper Chopper 5 pans over to it, we'll point it out for you, but it's an outdoor cafe right by the YouTube headquarters. And we saw, you know, the red umbrellas just around 1 o'clock, assuming people were out there eating their lunches, and some chairs had been toppled over. And right now, where Chopper 5 is pointing, it seems to be an area where possibly employees are gathering. It does not look to be a frantic scene with people rushing away, but earlier some of the people inside the building did report that several people were running out. But right now, it looks like police are keeping people far enough away from where they are searching. We're not sure where they are searching this moment.
Yeah, so what that indicates, what we're seeing here, these groups of people outside, not much at this point, just that those people appear to have been cleared as not being suspects, and people who have been able to move away from this scene, this active shooter. Netta mentioned, yeah, this happened at the cafe, or at least that's where it started, an outdoor cafe. Of course, it's a beautiful day. It was 1 o'clock. Presumably, that was full of people who were eating their lunch on a work break, perhaps. I'm not familiar in particular with this headquarters, but a lot of the tech buildings and complexes in and around the Bay Area are secure, that you're not able to get into the area unless you are an employee or you have some sort of business there. So no confirmation, again, as to what category that shooter or shooters may or may not fall into, but that is presumably a place where employees felt that they were safe to enjoy a beautiful afternoon that has turned into a mass shooting in San Bruno. And we're continuing to monitor these live pictures right now from Chopper 5 as we try to get some sort of grasp on the magnitude of what we have here, because the only confirmation we have is that there is an active shooter. That is from the San Bruno Police Department. We know a lot of law enforcement have rushed to the scene, including now federal authorities from the ATF.
And now we are hearing Sean, from an employee at YouTube, is on the phone. So Sean, please tell us, thank you first of all for joining us right now, and please tell us what you know, what happened there.
Yeah, of course. I was actually walking back up from lunch when we heard the first wave of shots. It looked like it was right down by the lunch patio, but it was unclear where exactly they were coming from. Since then, a large contingent of YouTubers ended up in the back of the property, out behind kind of this grove area. Since then, we were told by police and security to kind of wait there until we heard from them. After that, they started to escort us towards the edge of the property, where they started patting before allowing us to leave the property itself.
So are you now clear of the property? Are you out of the area?
We are, yeah. We're just outside the fence line. There's been a lot of internal communication asking if everyone's safe. It seems like most people are. I've heard that it was a female shooter and that 2 people were injured.
We also heard unconfirmed reports that it was a female gunman, and they may also now be searching for a male gunman. Any other details that you've heard?
We hadn't heard about the male gunman, but it seems as though the female shooter hasn't been caught yet, since they're still patting us down before letting us out.
And can you tell us about the security there? Do you need to be an employee to get near the building? Do you need to show a badge?
Yeah, generally speaking, you have to swipe a badge in order to get on the inside of the property. That being said, there's some open areas where you'd have like gates that you could potentially shoot through, I suppose. But yeah, there's security that kind of came out really quickly, and they were really helpful in terms of getting us passing along the messages of staying in groups and not wandering back into the building. I think there was a few stragglers who were still hiding in the buildings. Went down. Since then, I think more and more of them have been kind of merging into the larger groups. And
did you hear any of the shooting?
Yeah, so I was outside probably, I don't know, 100 yards away when it started. It sounded like about 10 shots. It was one wave, and then after that, people started running. I went inside and tried to let other people know that there was gunshots outside, and it sounded like from inside not many people were able to hear it to quite the extent that folks on the outside were.
And so how close were you to that lunch spot, the spot that we've been seeing, at least from our helicopter pictures with the red umbrellas?
I'd say 100, 150 yards, something along those lines.
Now we
close
are
enough
hearing
that it was very loud.
Imagine. Terrifying. I can't even imagine how you must be feeling right now. How do you even start to make sense of this happening on a calm Friday afternoon or Tuesday afternoon?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone has made sense of it yet. Guess we just, I don't know, from my own perspective, feels like we finally drew the short straw. So we'll see what happens, and hopefully they let us get out of here soon.
Yeah. Do you have friends that are still in the building that you have not perhaps been able to contact yet? Yeah. In general, we've been doing a pretty good job within our own kind of chat groups to be reaching out about individual people who anyone hasn't seen. A lot of those people have been heard from since and have been either in larger groups or in groups of 1 to 3 have kind of made their way away from the YouTube building and have kind of gone to the outskirt areas, both the Bay Hill Shopping Center and some of the parks in the near area.
Now, Sean, I know it's probably too early to tell, but Stanford is now confirming about 4 to 5 patients have been brought to their hospital. SF General also seeing several people who are injured and treating them. Any idea how many people may have been injured by all of this, just from what you're hearing from your coworkers?
I mean, the 4 to 5 number is new to me. Up until now, we've only heard that 2 people were injured.
Okay, and then this female that they are searching for and possibly another man, have you heard anything about who this may be identity-wise?
No, we haven't heard anything to that front. Okay,
and we are also hearing reports 1,700 people work there at the headquarters. And how hard is it for, someone from the outside to get in?
I mean, there's always possibility of people following others in through open doors when they're walking through, but in general, we try to take a good stance of watching out for people without badges. It's unclear, really. There's multiple buildings at this point, all in the same area, so it's possible to get in, I suppose. But
are you getting any indication right now on how long you're going to have to stay where you are? Obviously, police are going to want to talk to a lot of people. Are police mandating you stay in that area? What are they telling you right now?
They're still patting down part of the group, but they haven't given us any timeline as far as when we would be able to leave. Yeah, they said they would let us know as soon as they know more.
And you must be hearing from a lot of family and friends right now wondering if you're okay. And I know a lot of our viewers and listeners right now are dealing with that situation, too, if they know somebody who lives or works around there. It's just an absolutely terrifying feeling to think that your loved one may be among the victims. Are you hearing from people?
I have been, yeah. My phone's been vibrating off the hook since this started.
All right, Sean.
It was pretty amazing how quickly others started hearing in about it.
Yeah, in this day and age of social media. All right, thank you so much for joining us, Sean. We are looking at right now pictures of another group of presumably employees
Good afternoon from the KCAL 9 studios. 1 hour after the first reports of gunfire and an active shooter on the YouTube campus in Northern California, and still there is no indication that the shooter is in custody. We want to go back live now to coverage from our CBS station there in San Francisco.
Being patted down by law enforcement so they can, at this point, separate the victims, the innocent bystanders, from the fact that there is a potential shooter still on the loose, from what we understand. Unconfirmed reports right now that there was a female shooter, and also that there may be a search underway right now for a male shooter.
Yeah, and Sean, we really do appreciate it. I know this is obviously a stressful time for a lot of people who do work at YouTube headquarters. If you're still on the phone, I had another quick question. That outdoor cafe, sorry, we do have to go. I apologize, Sean. We will get more information, of course, from our reporters that are on the scene and our crew on the scene.
Yeah, it is 2 p.m. right now, and we're continuing to cover this breaking news out of San Bruno. Police responding to reports of an active shooter right now at the YouTube headquarters in San Bruno.
And we are hearing reports multiple people have been shot at YouTube headquarters. It's right there on your map. This is in San Bruno, right off of Cherry Avenue near Bay Hill Drive as well. Let's take a live look at the scene. What's going on there right now? according to Chopper 5 overhead of the scene. You can definitely see a huge law enforcement presence. We have law enforcement from many different agencies, fire crews as well, and several employees have been taken out of the buildings by law enforcement. We saw a lot of people walking out with their hands above their heads, and as we heard from Sean, an employee at YouTube, saying that several people were being patted down as police are looking for the active shooter. The building nearby on Traeger Avenue has also been placed on lockdown, and that does have a component of the Department of Social Services inside that building on Traeger, but several different complexes are there.
So police are right now.
Headquarters, YouTube headquarters, all nearby, Cherry and Bay Hill.
Yeah, police are telling people to stay away from that area right now so that law enforcement can do their job. This all started as a barrage of 911 calls there from the YouTube headquarters. So law enforcement from all over the area then converged. Police, fire, ATF right now on scene, and witnesses inside YouTube tell us that they heard shots fired and they had to barricade themselves in a room. Some of them, as you can see here, posting to social media.
Out of breath. We're going for a walk. Oh, yeah. Gunfire at YouTube. I've been calling 911. It's hella busy.
You can hear the panic in her voice there. Now, that's a woman walking nearby. She posted that video on Snapchat describing what she saw. And obviously out of breath, as we heard in that video, other users are posting snaps showing their views of first responders who are out there on this scene. We can definitely see that as well. Here's this video from Snapchat. This one showing people being escorted out of the area with their hands up. You can see them on the sidewalk there. And this is our Chopper 5 perspective. Again, the police are searching for a possible female. Those are unconfirmed reports. We are also hearing reports that victims have been taken to SF General Hospital as well as Stanford Hospital. Stanford confirming 4 or 5 people injured there that have been taken there.
And this just in, we are hearing reports right now that the San Bruno coroner has been called to the scene, which is obviously very disturbing news when it comes to the likelihood that there are deaths involved in this shooting that broke out at about 1 o'clock. We have Jeff Harp right now. He is our KPIX5 security advisor on the phone. Jeff, I know this is really early, but what do you think we're looking at here?
Well, I think the first thing they're probably going to do is try to get as many statements from the witnesses that they've come out and identified to try to figure out what's going on inside. I'm sure, I have not seen the scene, but I'm sure that a myriad of law enforcement has shown up. They will go into that building. They will do a tedious search. If there's still gunfire going on, they'll use the active shooter protocol, and they will go.
Breaking news on CBS 2 and KCAL 9 News right now. We want to welcome in our viewers on CBS 2. A huge breaking news story happening in Northern California right now. Reports of an active shooter, possibly a woman with a gun, on the campus of the YouTube headquarters in San Bruno. There are reports that up to 10 people have been injured and taken to local hospitals. Also reports that the coroner there has now been called to the scene, which could indicate that there are indeed people who have been killed in this shooting. Again, these are early reports. This is breaking news from Northern California at the YouTube headquarters, and reports that the shooting actually started at that outdoor cafe area that you are looking at right now. Let's go back to continuing coverage from our station, our CBS affiliate in San Francisco.
Shootings that we've seen throughout the country in recent months, and suddenly it's happening here in our backyard.
Yeah, it's very disturbing. I mean, obviously what happened up in Napa, and now we have this. It's really, it's tasking our law enforcement personnel. I know that the first responders down there are doing everything they can, and all we can hope for is there's no more tragedy.
And Jeff, we do know that ATF is responding. The San Mateo County Coroner has been called to the scene. What does that tell you?
Well, I mean, obviously it's not the best thing in the world, best news in the world when the coroner is called, because they're going to determine death, cause of death, and everything else. So until that scene is secure, I think we can only hope for the best, and obviously there's probably going to be some immense tragedy that comes out of it.
And right now, multiple people injured is all we do know. No confirmation of any deaths reported in that area. I do want to point that out. And also, Jeff, just knowing this area, I mean, this is a YouTube headquarters, quite a large complex, several offices nearby. How do police go about handling this when there are so many people that work in that area, especially 1 o'clock during most people's lunch break? They may be walking in and around that location.
Well, it becomes a crowd control, math problem. You got to start separating people you search from those you have not searched. And eventually everybody that comes out will be searched. They'll take statements from all those who saw anything, and all that will be put together as part of the puzzle to figure out what happened.
All right, and that's what we heard from Sean, the YouTube employee who we spoke with earlier on the phone. The advent of social media nowadays, we're seeing some of these videos emerge on the Instagram and Snapchat. What does this do to the investigation? Because obviously information from the inside is getting out very quickly.
Yeah, so that's kind of a double-edged sword. One of the things that it does is it can reveal police tactics unnecessarily. Obviously, people are able to tweet out things, are able to post stuff on YouTube, take cell phone video, Instagram. All of that becomes evidentiary in value. But what we don't want to do is, if the active shooter is still going on, we do not want to tip the hand of the active shooter of what law enforcement tactics they're using.
Well, obviously, a lot of people, when they're hearing about this, are concerned about loved ones who may live or work in that area. We say, as we see Chopper 5 zoom in on the cafe, the outdoor eating area where this appears to have started at about around 1 p.m. So if somebody knows somebody who may have been there, they're obviously panicked at this point, but they're being told to stay away. What would you say to those people?
Well, just, always the thing to say is remain calm, although that's extremely hard to do. It's one of those things that's easier said than done. But the calmer you remain, the more you step back and allow law enforcement to do their thing, the better off you are.
Okay, and any other thoughts, Jeff, on going forward? We are still in the mode where we may likely have an active shooter there on the scene, 1 or 2. But looking into the hours, even days ahead, what are we going to see happen here?
Well, I mean, hours ahead, if the active shooter's still on scene and there's still gunfire going on, this becomes one of those run, hide, fight situations where those inside the building need to get out. Those who are involved in something else, if they're there and they can't get out, then they obviously are going to have to hide or fight their way out.
And several people around 1 o'clock were reporting the shots being fired and people were running out of the building. Right now, though, it does seem like they're walking slowly, being escorted by police. Is that a sign of anything showing that this may be coming to an end at all?
Well, it may be showing that things are not as active as they were initially. I wouldn't say it's coming to an end, but certainly they're trying to keep people calm. They're trying to get them into a quarantined area so they can be searched, and then they will make entry until they find out what happened.
And we did hear reports that it all may have started at the outdoor cafe, YouTube headquarters. And there is security. People need badges to get in and out of that building. But, Jeff, how secure is a building like that? Is it hard for someone who's maybe not an employee to get in and do something like this?
Well, I mean, so you got to think about it. These are not buildings that have metal detectors, and certainly that's not the situation we want to see, but they are buildings that require people to have badges to get into, and that's important. And I'm sure YouTube and everybody else that's going into that space has to have a visitor badge or an employee badge to get in.
But obviously that doesn't stop an actual employee, if that was the situation here, from bringing in some sort of weapon. But at this point, we have no idea if it was, from the inside, from the outside. But the more we hear about incidents like this, the more we will likely hear about things like metal detectors being deployed in workplaces. It's obviously way too early to start discussing that at this point. But as we zoom in right here from Chopper 5, you're looking at maybe some pock marks there on the ground. I don't know if that has anything to do with the shooting, but at this point, just looking for any information, any clues. 2 law enforcement personnel there walking near the cafe where this started. I want to back this up and let people know what we're dealing with if you're just joining us here this afternoon. Jeff, we'll put you on hold. Thanks so much for your insight onto this. Jeff Harp, he is our security analyst here at KPIX 5. But to remind our viewers, at around 1 o'clock, somebody, a person or persons started shooting at the YouTube headquarters in San Bruno. This is very near the intersection of 280 and 380, just south of San Francisco. And there have been multiple injuries. We're also hearing that the San Bruno Coroner has been called to the scene, which indicates that there has likely been at least one death reported in this situation. Victims have been taken to San Francisco General Hospital, and Stanford Hospital has confirmed they've gotten 4 to 5 patients. So not sure how many went to San Francisco General, but we're looking at multiple injuries at this point and the possibility of at least one death. As for the shooter, the last word from the police department, the San Bruno PD, is that there is still one person that was an active shooter. We've also heard unconfirmed reports that there was a female shooter involved in this and that police are now looking for a male shooter. But we don't have a lot of this confirmed because police officers right now, law enforcement, obviously dealing with what they have at hand and trying to clear this building and make sure it's safe.
Yeah, and they are definitely bringing all the employees out. Right now, KBIX5's Melissa Kane is joining us from the newsroom, monitoring a number of videos coming into social media. Melissa, what have you seen?
Well, right now, videos are pouring in from people on the scene, so let's take a look. We have a Snapchat video. We've slowed down. You can see police officers running into a building on that YouTube campus. The video was taken from a window nearby. We also have another video. You can see people walking out of that building in what appears to be nearly the same staircase. People in a single file with their hands above their heads.
Hold breath. We're going for a walk. Gunfire at YouTube. I've been calling 911. It's hella busy.
That woman walking nearby posted this video on Snapchat describing what she saw. Other users are posting snaps showing their views of first responders on the scene. This one shows people being escorted out of the area with their hands up. We're, of course, continuing to monitor the situation online for whatever insights it can provide. Back to you.
All right, Melissa Kane live in our newsroom. Thanks for that. And again, looking at live pictures right now from above the cafe at the YouTube headquarters. This is where we believe the shooting began at around 1 o'clock. Sunny, beautiful afternoon. A lot of folks out there enjoying their lunch. We see some overturned chairs. And Melissa had referred to some of the early reports coming in of just a barrage of gunfire, and a witness that we spoke with earlier on the phone, he was an employee, his name was Sean, was talking about hearing maybe a dozen shots initially, and that they immediately knew that it was a shooting and that that's what they were dealing with. Unfortunately, that is this day and age, when you hear something like that, that is a reality that comes into your head.
And some people reporting it sounded like firecrackers. They had to run out of the building. Now we have KPIX5's Andrea Borva live at the scene. Andrea, what can you tell us?
Well, take a look behind me. I'm on the other side of the scene from KPIX5's Mary Liam here at Bay Hill and Traeger. You can see a large quantity of police cars here as well as crime scene tape up. I just spoke to a senior software engineer at YouTube just a few minutes ago. He was in the middle of the building when he believes the shooting began. Someone pulled a fire alarm, and then he ran toward the exits with his skateboard. When he got to the exits at the cafeteria, he saw one man in the courtyard outside the cafeteria on the ground with what he believes to be a bullet wound to his stomach, and one other person in that courtyard saying, "Come get me." We are being held back at a pretty significant pace at this point. If you know where I'm at, I'm on the west side of the YouTube campus, closer to Highway 101 at this point. As I was driving down here, it's a very large, very active scene. I was passed by Homeland Security going lights and sirens on 101 southbound, and I followed them all the way here into the YouTube campus, and that's where we're at right now. We still see a large number of people. You can see them on screen right now. They are leaving the area. They're being escorted out. There are police who are walking up toward the campus with what looks to be employees leaving the area. There's also many other businesses in this neighborhood right now. So that's what we're looking at out here live in San Bruno right now. Netta and Ann. So again, spoke to a software engineer.
Breaking news on CBS 2 and KCAL 9. You are watching live coverage of an active shooter situation at the headquarters of YouTube, the social media giant there in San Bruno. This is just south of San Francisco, and it is 1 hour and 15 minutes since the first reports came in, 911 calls, saying that there were shots fired and an active shooter on this campus, and still there is no indication that this person is in custody. Again, this is at the headquarters of YouTube, the campus, and it is a big place, 200,000 square feet with more than 1,700 employees. We've seen employees being escorted off, and now it looks like a triage situation being set up there, and we could see, it looks like paramedics and fire crews on the scene. There are unconfirmed reports that 10 people have been injured and taken to local hospitals. We're talking about Stanford University Hospital and also San Francisco General. We are getting reports also that President Trump has now been briefed on the situation there. Of course, gun laws and gun restrictions have been a big topic of politics lately after the shooting in Parkland, Florida at the high school there. So again, right now, the latest we know is that the gunman or gunwoman, because we are getting reports that it could possibly be a woman, that person is not in custody. So we do believe this is still an active shooter situation. As many as 10 victims on the campus there of YouTube in San Bruno. And these live pictures coming in from our CBS affiliate there in San Francisco. They've got a team of reporters there. So let's go ahead and go back to our coverage from our CBS affiliate in San Francisco.
And, of course, we see the buses getting ready to take people out of this area.
I mean, I can only imagine these people at this point are just absolutely shell-shocked by what they've just gone through. And we spoke with a couple people earlier who said that sort of the process of gathering people outside, making sure they're in a safe spot, but then also patting them down. So I don't even know what would be going through your head as you're able to even walk away and go home at this point. But it sounds like for a lot of them, that's going to be a multi-tiered process before they're even released from the scene.
Well, there are thousands of people who work on the YouTube campus and here in this area of San Bruno, so getting them out in an orderly fashion will be a process. They're being walked out in what looks to be groups of a few hundred. You multiply that by several thousand people, this will be a very long process to get people away from this scene so law enforcement can continue to process it.
Yeah, where Andrea is right now is out there on Traeger, as she mentioned. That's right by the Department of Social Services, which is a rather large complex. And also, of course, there's a Walmart Commerce headquarters that's there, Walmart offices, YouTube headquarters. So, of course, that's why we're seeing so many people being escorted out, walking past her, behind her live shot right there. But for now, of course, they're trying to get everyone away, and you wonder, how are they going to get home? At this point, those parking garages nearby, I can't imagine them being able to access their cars to leave.
All right. I know, Andrea, you have a lot of work to do there on the scene. If you can gather some more people's stories from the inside, thanks so much for your insight. We'll check back in with you in a few minutes. We also have on the other side of the complex right now our Mary Lee as we continue to watch live pictures from Chopper 5. Mary, what can you tell us?
All right, that's right. We are just outside of YouTube headquarters on the other side on Cherry Avenue where Andrea Borber was. And we've been watching employees escorted out of the area. We've been watching police put up the yellow tape out here, roping off the YouTube headquarters. So we've been watching that happen. We've been watching officers come back and forth investigating this area here. You can see all of the police cars out here, fire engines, fire out here as well, the fire department, police department. We've seen FBI investigators as well, all in this area investigating this scene. We have heard that it was an outdoor seating area at the YouTube headquarters. Chopper 5 has been overhead. We've heard other helicopters as well overhead showing people coming out with their hands up. We know that have heard that there are possibly several victims going to Stanford and General, but we've been monitoring the scene out here. We heard talking to some police officers officers that once they clear the area, then we'll be able to get more information, and a media person will give us some more information that we do need to know about this scene. So again, live out here, we have the police, we have the yellow caution tape that they just roped off this area surrounding YouTube headquarters, and we've been hearing helicopters out as well. We've seen the employees escorted out of the area. So of course, an active situation. We'll keep an eye on it as long as we can. Back to you.
And Mary, if we could have you, check with as many people coming out, we would love to hear some more stories from the inside of that complex.
All right, we are going to come away from our coverage from our sister station in San Francisco right now, but you are watching live pictures coming in from this active shooter situation in San Bruno on the campus of YouTube, and we're just now getting sound, people talking about what they witnessed there this afternoon when the shooting started about 1 o'clock. Let's go ahead and listen into that.
The girl's laying in there, and the girl ran out. And then the other guy that was there in front of me, he stayed there. He stayed there. And then all the other persons ran, and they went to all these locker rooms, and they all locked up.
What's your name, sir?
I read that. Yeah, I keep my name out of it. The whole thing? Like a minute and a half. Like a minute and a half.
Scared? What were you thinking?
I was scared. I knew that I had to run for cover, so I knew that.
Ken, this gentleman right here says he was ordering food at the Carl's, which is kind of directly across from the YouTube headquarters, and he heard the shots and saw what happened. So I'm going to kind of jump in and I'll ask questions as we go. But he says this all started at a party that was happening at the YouTube headquarters.
Side of the building, and I parked it right there in the driveway, in the drive-thru. And then I ran back around the building, and then I went to go see, and that's when the girl went past me. I went check on her, but when I ran over there, the first girl, yeah.
They brought her into the Carl's, and then you went back over.
Yeah, because there's a side door in the back.
Right.
So then they opened the door, and then they put her in, and we put her on. At the same time, I went back, I checked, put her leg on the table, and grabbed all the napkins and put her on the leg.
And then you went back out, and
then I went back out, went over there, go see what happened, see what's going on, really going on. And then the other lady was there, and then the guys. He was there. He goes, "Oh, she's shot. She's dead. She's over there. He shot." I go, "I heard it, dude. I heard. It was right there. It was clear as day."
How many shots?
Like 10 times. The second time.
Rapid fire?
Yeah. Oh man, it didn't stop. It was no mercy. It was no mercy. It was just like whoever shot that time was. Oh man, it was massive.
And that was the second victim, and then there was a third victim.
And then I think he shot somebody else because there was 4 more shots after that. It went bam, 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 and then after that, I didn't hear nothing.
Breaking news on CBS 2 and KCAL 9. You heard a witness talking about this active shooter situation at the YouTube headquarters in San Bruno. This is Northern California, just south of San Francisco. And you heard him say there was rapid fire, talking about the gunshots, saying it didn't stop. There are unconfirmed reports that there are at least 10 victims taken to local hospitals there in the San Francisco area. And the coroner, we now know, has arrived on the scene, so that would indicate that there is possibly at least 1 person dead. And Google Communications tweeting, per the YouTube situation, we are coordinating with authorities and will provide official information here from Google and YouTube as it becomes available. Google, of course, the parent company of YouTube, the social media site. Let's go back to the coverage from our sister station in San Francisco.
Of the police that are out there, but also this is an active shooter situation to determine who would be the shooter and who would be the employees who are, the witnesses and the victims. That's what they also need to decipher. So many people were being patted down, as we heard from some of the employees inside. One of them, Sean, saying, people were told to put their hands up, and police had to pat them down to make sure they did not have weapons. And right now, this is obviously a ground shot from nearby. People walking out seem to be walking out calmly, but of course, anytime you hear shots fired at your place of work, it's got to be terrifying for several of those people who heard it. Many people did. They heard multiple shots fired, and as we've been mentioning, multiple injuries. No confirmed reports of any deaths. Unconfirmed reports that they are looking for a female shooter and possibly a male as well. But of course, that is all initial information. We're waiting to hear from police to say what the very latest will be.
And this just in, the San Bruno police chief is going to update us on this situation at 2:30, so that is about 6 minutes from now. Of course, if we are able to, we will carry that live for you, and we'll certainly be able to glean a little more information on that. Yes, I'm being told we will be able to carry that statement live. He says he is going to speak at 2:30. That might have to slide one way or the other, because obviously his priority right now is securing that scene and trying to get the information from his officers on the ground to make sure that they're able to put out the most accurate information possible. Of course, law enforcement there on the scene is very well aware of the fact that this news has gotten out and that there are hundreds, thousands of terrified people right now around the Bay Area wondering if their friends, family members are among the victims, because we know there are several there after a shooting at the YouTube headquarters in San Bruno, which is on lockdown right now.
And right now, if you can see the red umbrellas there, that outdoor cafe, that's where we are hearing that the shooting started. And our reporter, Andrea Borba, who was there at the scene, spoke with a YouTube software engineer, a witness of all of this. And he said he saw a man on the ground in that courtyard with an apparent bullet wound to the stomach. And the witness broke out in tears while he was telling Andrea what was happening, obviously overcome with emotion. This is very difficult for these employees to witness. And it was right around 1 o'clock when a lot of people were outside enjoying lunch. This was a nice day. That outdoor cafe, obviously a place that they would all congregate. And then we saw in our chopper footage that some of the chairs had been toppled over, and earlier police looked to be putting down evidence markers. This is video from earlier as several employees are being walked down those stairs, their arms above their head, as police tried to find the shooter and then also get everyone out safely. And that's what they have to do. There's 1,700 employees there, but several hundred in nearby businesses as well. Several office complexes are right there near YouTube's headquarters. The location, for those of you who are just joining us, right at Cherry Avenue and Bay Hill Drive. Traeger Avenue, the buildings there also impacted. That would include the Department of Social Services, but there's a Walmart headquarters there, a main office, business office near YouTube, and that would be the YouTube headquarters in San Bruno, that obviously where all of this has been occurring. That's the scene.
All right, and we just heard from Senator Dianne Feinstein. She took to Twitter to express her sadness about this shooting. She tweets, "My stomach sinks with yet another active shooter alert. I am praying for the safety of everyone at YouTube headquarters." Now, Senator Feinstein has been a staunch advocate of gun control, so this will all likely be a part of her conversation in the future, taking this story that is happening in her backyard, California, of course, to Washington, D.C. to continue that conversation. But at this point, it is all about the first response, as we're taking a look right now at the outdoor seating area where it appears this started. We're also hearing President Trump has been briefed on this situation, but we haven't gotten any official word from him or his office at this point. Again, this happened less than an hour and a half ago. Now, Netta had mentioned Andrea Borba's conversation, a reporter on the scene, conversation with a software engineer who heard the gunshots there near that cafe, went outside, saw a man lying on the ground. He appeared to have been shot in the stomach. He saw a lot of blood, and that he also heard another person on the scene say, "Come and get me." So we don't know at this point what that indicates or what that person's situation was at the time, but one of the haunting tales of at this early hour that we're hearing from what was a calm and peaceful day, lunchtime, at YouTube headquarters in San Bruno.
And in just a few minutes, this is when we're hearing that police chief will be speaking. There's a press conference so they can update the media. There's the podium set up. Of course, this is such a busy, active scene right now that the police have not had a chance to speak to all of our reporters, but they will be doing so to confirm any of the information. Right now, what we do know is that they were responding to this active shooter situation at the YouTube headquarters in San Bruno, and we've been seeing live pictures throughout showing showing several people being escorted out. You can see firefighters and paramedics there on the scene as well. It's hard to tell exactly what they're doing, possibly treating a victim, but earlier around 1 o'clock, we did hear reports of several ambulances taking victims away. Stanford Hospital confirms 4 to 5 patients were being treated there, but SF General not confirming how many people were being brought to their hospital, but they did say that they are treating people with multiple injuries and multiple people injured.
Yeah, it is still, again, so early that we don't have a lot of information confirmed. That is why the press conference, the news conference we're about to get from the San Bruno police chief is going to be imperative. That will be our first chance to get some of these reports that we've heard coming from this area confirmed, because at last word there was an active shooter on campus. So the hope is at least that this police chief can confirm that that is no longer the case, that this person or persons has been neutralized.
And as soon as all of this happened, of course, people took to social media to report what they were seeing. Let's take a look.
A lot of breath. We're going for a walk. Oh, yeah. There's gunfire at YouTube. I've been calling 911. It's hella busy.
Wow, that was a woman who walked right by there, posting that video on Snapchat. She described what she saw as we heard, a little panic in her voice, out of breath as well. Of course, hearing shots fired near your place of business is a terrifying thing. Other users also posting snaps showing their views of first responders who are on this scene. This is similar to what our Chopper 5 has been also showing you. People being escorted out right there on the sidewalk there at the bottom of your screen, but also a heavy police presence, law enforcement vehicles, several vans and police cars out there, and several law enforcement agencies all out there, including the ATF, trying to get a handle of what's going on. And those are the people there with their hands up as law enforcement are trying to get them out safely, while also making sure the shooter doesn't walk out of the scene without them knowing. So that's another task they have at hand, trying to get hundreds of people out of there while also trying to figure out who did all of this. Unconfirmed reports right now of possibly a female shooter and a male. That's what police may be looking for, but the police chief will have a lot more updated information right now. We do want to hear from them to kind of provide that official word, because of course that could help calm a lot of people's nerves in that area. This is a wider view. That's a massive complex there. 1,700 people in the YouTube headquarters alone, but several hundreds of people nearby at those busy offices on a Tuesday around 1 o'clock when a lot of people were outside. We saw in that Snapchat video they were going for their walk, possibly going out to lunch. There's a nearby shopping center where a lot of people go to eat, and around 1 o'clock that's likely what many people were doing, and this all occurred, we hear, from an outdoor cafe right there at the YouTube headquarters.
And of course,
off the freeway.
Yeah, the big question for a lot of people right now is the injuries, the casualties from this situation, and that is the information we don't have, but we can say that there have been multiple injuries. A lot of folks sent to San Francisco General Hospital, no number, and we know that 4 or 5 people were sent via ambulance to Stanford Hospital to the south. So some of those emergency vehicles going north, some going south, and the fact that the coroner's van has been called to the scene indicates that there could have been at least one death in this shooting that occurred at about 1 p.m. We now have some reaction from Representative Jackie Spear, who represents the area in Congress. She tweeted, "I am shocked and saddened to hear about another mass shooting, this one at YouTube in my district. I am following developments and am sending prayers to the victims and survivors. We must take action and hashtag end gun violence." Of course, Representative Spear also very vocal on gun control. So again, this is going to be part of their conversation. That is, of course, a view, the pro-gun control view shared by many of California's politicians and representatives. And again, here is what we see happening in our own backyard. So this is certainly information and experience that they will take into their continued fight for gun control. But we are still in the early stages of this breaking active shooters situation in San Bruno. So as we know how these things go, that conversation will come. But at this point, I know that hundreds, thousands of people are wondering if their loved ones are safe. And we are going to bring you that information as soon as we possibly can. Our best source of information is going to come from the San Bruno police chief. It was set to speak at 2:30, and it's obviously a few minutes after that point. This is Chief Ed Barberini. He is going to update us on what they can tell us about the scene right now. You're looking at the podium. You can see a lot of the news media there setting up their microphones because everybody is just desperate for information. We've gotten a little bit that is poured out via social media, but this is what we know as far as the scene. It's that map there on your screen, the YouTube headquarters there in San Bruno near Cherry Avenue and Bay Hill. It is very close to the freeways 380 and 280. Initial reports of coming into 911 of people reporting a barrage of gunfire coming in, and soon after, law enforcement appeared to know that they were dealing with an extremely bad situation because vehicles just flooded the areas from local law enforcement. We now have federal agents on the scene only about an hour and a half after it happened, so it has been a very swift and severe.
We are following this breaking news in the San Francisco area, San Bruno,
headquarters.
where there has been a shooting on the campus of YouTube, and apparently we're getting word now that one person is dead. Let's listen in.
Employees fleeing from the building. It was very chaotic, as you can imagine. We did encounter one victim with an apparent gunshot wound towards the front of the business as we arrived. Several minutes later, while conducting a search of the premises, officers located a second individual with a gunshot wound that appears to may have been self-inflicted. We are still working on confirming that. Two additional victims were located several minutes later at an adjacent business. The extent of all of the injuries of our victims are unknown right now. They were all transported for emergency medical care, but they are all unknown. So if I missed that, we have 4 victims who have all been transported for gunshot-related injuries, and we have one subject who's deceased inside the building with a self-inflicted wound that at this time we believe to be the shooter, but we're still following up on that. Multiple law enforcement agencies have responded to assist. We're very grateful for everyone's help and assistance. We could not have responded and accomplished this without everybody's help. This is an active event and an active investigation, and numerous law enforcement personnel from numerous different local agencies are still conducting a search of the business just to make sure that that it is clear. We conducted a quick, immediate search of the premises when the first officers arrived as pursuant to our active shooter protocol, and after that search was concluded, now we're going through with a methodical, slow search just to make sure that we cover all the bases. That's all I have for you at this time. We hope to have something a little later. I cannot give you, I cannot give you the time of the next press update, but we'll put that out as soon as we have that information. I'm sorry?
I'm hearing from YouTube employees that there were 2 shooters, a man and a woman.
No, I cannot confirm that.
Was the deceased a man or a woman?
It's a female. Yes. My understanding is that they've been transported and they're being treated for injuries that are treatable. We're hoping for the best, obviously.
Are there more people inside the building, or?
My understanding is the building has been evacuated. There are people in the immediate area. We're obviously trying to contact a large amount of people to try to identify and gain some information from witnesses at the scene. So you can imagine it's a monumental task with the number of employees that work inside the building.
Chief, can you tell us about what weapons or weapons?
I'm sorry?
Can you tell us about what weapon or weapons were coming?
I don't have that information. I'm sorry.
Do you have police in San Bruno, the sheriff, who else is?
We have. I haven't taken inventory of all the agencies here. There are numerous agencies. We work well with our neighboring partners, and we're grateful that they're here. But there's a lot of them.
And do you have a gender of the shooter?
Yeah, I want to clarify that we did locate a victim with what we believe to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound. It's a female, but the investigation is still ongoing before we can put all the pieces together.
Is this person an ex-employee?
I don't have any information regarding that.
Are you looking for another shooter?
We are clearing the building and searching the building in a slow, methodical manner like we would do anyway. So we haven't eliminated that possibility, but we have no information to suggest that there's somebody else in there that we're looking for.
Where are the employees now? We saw them walking down the street.
Yeah, a lot of employees self-evacuated, as you can imagine. We've identified a group that we want to talk to, and we have staging areas where our detectives are reaching out to them and interviewing them. So we're trying to do it as orderly as we can, but a lot of people, pretty hectic scenario. So it's a task.
Are there still people in that building that are with YouTube that are there now besides the ones that you're identified in question?
No, I believe my understanding is that the building has been evacuated, so they're all outside of that building.
Okay, how many people are you talking about here?
Several hundred, or a few hundred. I'm sorry, a few hundred. It was my understanding.
In what floor was she
I don't know.
And was her boyfriend there? That's what.
Oh, I have no I have no idea. I don't know the circumstances surrounding this.
And it was only
at
one
all.
shooter.
I don't want to eliminate any possibility. I don't know any of that for sure. Like I said, this is still active. We're still investigating this as I'm speaking to you. So there's a lot of things that I just simply don't know right now.
Is it sure that the shot started in the courtyard? Do you know anything?
I don't have that information. All right. I will try to get you an update as soon as we can once we know more. But I think that I've given you almost everything that we know at this point. So appreciate it. Yeah, when we know, I don't want to give you a time because I may not have a lot for you. So when we can identify a time that's appropriate to come back and update you again, we'll do that immediately. We'll probably put that out through our media list and through social media.
Sorry, Chief. We understand from one employee that police had to borrow badges in order to access parts of the building. Did you have any trouble getting where you needed
I don't
to go?
have any information regarding that right now.
Is there a problem with security at YouTube? We heard there's not even metal detectors on the outside.
We're not even at that point yet. We're still trying to address the situation in front of us. Okay, I will get you some more information in a few minutes.
Are there employees of YouTube?
I don't know. I have not. They've not been identified. So that's all I have. And again, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you.
We've been getting preliminary information here from San Bruno Police Chief Ed Barberini on the shooting that took place on the campus of the YouTube headquarters there at a cafe right around 1 o'clock this afternoon. The police chief confirming information for us, saying that 4 victims were transported with gunshot-related injuries to the hospital, and one person, a female, who they believe may be the shooter in this, also dead on the scene there of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Right now, the scene is still on lockdown there. Officers clearing and searching the building. They say this is a very slow process with a lot of moving pieces.
Yeah, we know the FBI is there. The ATF is there. The coroner is on the scene because they do have that one person who is confirmed dead. Again, as we believe it is the woman who was the shooter in this situation. We don't have any motive yet. Too early for that. But we know that this all started about 1 o'clock this afternoon on this sprawling campus of YouTube there in San Bruno, just south of San Francisco, where a woman, presumably with a gun, started shooting in the outdoor cafe area. And we heard from witnesses who said that they heard rapid fire, that it just didn't stop. We also heard reports of people calling 911 saying that they heard shots. There were so many calls coming in because keep in mind, this is a building where they have about 170,000 employees. And we heard someone else say that there was so much running, people just terrified after hearing these gunshots that they thought it was an earthquake. The sound of that running was so loud. A lot of people barricaded in place. We are told now, as we just heard from the chief, that the building has been safely evacuated. We don't believe there is anybody else inside, but we did see this afternoon officers leading those people outside with their hands up, the employees who have gone through another shooting here in the United States. And
Sandra, speaking of all those people there on campus who saw and witnessed everything, it must have been a terrifying situation with so many people who live on that, or not rather work on the headquarters there for YouTube. We have some interviews with some of those who witnessed it. Let's go ahead and listen to what happened.
Yeah, I came in to get a milkshake and there's a good chocolate cake. And when I was coming in, there was a big commotion going on, coming from across the street. And a lady actually came and went into the Carl's Jr. and she'd actually been shot in the foot. That was right about the time police were starting to come in, and the next thing you know, the police came from every direction.
So talk about the woman that was shot in the foot. Where were you at this particular point, and how close were you to the victim at the Carl's Jr.?
Well, I had pulled into the Carl's Jr. while there were people coming from different directions. I went over that direction. I was probably as far as from me to the camera as she was going into the door of the Carl's Jr.
And then what did you see happen after that as you're looking at the victim? Were people around her? Did you see blood? What did you see?
People went in there. Then that's the police came over, ambulances came over. Actually, fire department paramedics backed into the parking lot. They went in, took care of her. They loaded her up in the ambulance and took her away.
What did she look like when you saw her? What was she wearing?
just regular, like, dark business clothes.
And the bullet, you said you noticed she was shot in the leg. How could you tell?
She was shot actually in the foot. I didn't physically see it, but there was a bunch of us around, and everyone was looking at it. I didn't want to lean in and be real nosy, but she was shot right in the foot.
So there were people gathering around her, kind of trying to help her out at that time? Did they look like employees of the restaurant or employees from YouTube, perhaps?
A little of each, but I think it was more from people outside. I don't think they were YouTube employees.
Yeah, and this is a place where people go normally just to have lunch. So tell us what you saw after that. You told us you watched as people went into the building. The authorities went into the building.
Yeah, then next thing you know, from all directions, there was every city. There's got to be 300 police cars here. There weren't that many at that time, but they kept coming because I actually drove right through the intersection that they have blocked off right now. I was there right when this first started. SWAT, big black SWAT van pulled up, then a camouflage SWAT van pulled up. There's got to be 200 people in the building. You think right now, I didn't see them come out. I saw police keep going in, keep going in. I saw the YouTube employees come back out. They all had their hands in the air because they didn't know who was who, and they brought them all across the street. And that's what I saw.
That's what you saw. But you still hadn't seen the officers, the number of officers you saw go into that building. You say that you did not see them come out because you've been pretty close to the scene for the last hour or so.
Yeah, I was right across the street the whole time. I mean, they kept going in, strategically went in, and they did not come out. I mean, maybe a couple did, but I didn't see the majority of them come out.
A witness describing the scene at the YouTube headquarters this afternoon where there was a shooting just about 1 o'clock. 4 people taken to the hospital with gunshot wounds. We don't have an update on their condition yet. As the police chief said, this is still a very active investigation. One person we know is dead. It is a woman believed to be the shooter in this. So we'll have more on this active shooter situation that is now over. This is the San Bruno area, Northern California. We'll have the very latest on the victims and an update on their conditions coming up on KCAL 9 News at 4 o'clock and then on our CBS 2 News at 5 o'clock this evening.
And for the latest in the meantime, you can go to our website, cbsla.com, for the very latest on this developing story in Northern California.
You know, you pay too much for glasses. Fault. Nah, don't blame yourself. Just next time, go to America's Best, where 2 pairs and a free exam are just $69.95. You think they sound like birds? It's not just a better deal. It's America's Best.
Mom life is a wildlife. And when it comes to feeding time, you've got this. Land O'Frost Premium Lunch Meat. Lots of protein, perfect for their lots of energy.
Land O'Frost, what those wild ones want to eat.
It is wicked chicken time again at Popeyes. I fry my chicken into wickedly twisted shapes to make them wicked crunchy and perfect for dipping. The best part? It comes with a side and a biscuit for just $4. That's a wicked good deal.
Love that chicken from Popeyes.
And now, more Judge Mathis Throwback.
We now join our regular program already in progress.
Former friend who claims Gabriel performed in a gay wrestling video for his website, and the defendant has the tape to prove it.
Let me hear from him. I'm not going to let you sit here and try and ridicule this man based on his sexual orientation.
I'm not
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, I meet this guy. He is a terrible homophobic person. He discriminates me for being gay.
He what?
For this afternoon, San Bruno PD on scene at 12:48. They say when they arrived to the YouTube campus on Cherry Avenue here in San Bruno, there was one person with a gunshot wound who was laying down in front of a door. They found a second body. They believe it's the shooter, a female with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. And then moments later, they found 2 other people with gunshot wounds. Those people have all been transported. They believe that the shooter in this case was a female and that she did, in fact, kill herself. But they are still doing a floor-by-floor search, a secondary search here at YouTube to see exactly if there is perhaps a second shooter. We've heard reports of that. The police chief was not able to confirm that. He says they are being very cautious and going very slowly to make sure everything is taken care of out here. Ann?
All right, Andrea Borba live for us at YouTube headquarters, obviously going to be able to talk to hopefully some more people that were inside that area. Terrifying stories for the 1,700 people who worked in that building. Andrea said that some of them thought it sounded like balloons popping. Others knew right away that it was a shooter, and that is unfortunately the climate that we're in at this point with the number of mass shootings going on across the U.S. recently. So at this point, that search continues as we take take a wider view right now from Chopper 5 of this YouTube campus in San Bruno. It is a largely industrial area there with a lot of offices, but on the outside, as you could just see, a lot of residential areas, a lot of homes in that area. So the streets are shut down. A lot of law enforcement there, federal agencies, the ATF there as well, can continue this investigation.
And as you mentioned, several employees in that area. It's terrifying to hear those shots fired, being escorted out of their place of work. Let's listen in now to what some of the witnesses have described this as being.
I didn't hear any shots. I think that the shots were fired while I was still in the building. I work sort of like in the midsection of the building, so if shots were fired, I wouldn't have heard it.
And you said it's a big guy carrying an assault weapon?
No, I think somebody else said that he had a pistol. I'm not sure.
So you never...
I never saw the gun. I can't confirm anything about the weapon that he had. All I can confirm is that somebody appeared to have a bullet wound on his stomach, and he was laying on the outside courtyard, and he wasn't moving.
What kind of security does YouTube have?
Right, and just to clarify, the information that we have right now is a little bit different from what he just mentioned. Of course, he's dealing with this in the heat of the moment. The police chief, though, did say that there was a female who ended up dead from a gunshot wound, a self-inflicted gunshot wound, and then 3 victims, people that were also shot in that area.
And right now, they've not confirmed that there may or may not be another shooter. They have not eliminated the possibility that there could be someone else involved in all of this, and that is why they are now going to go through every door, closet, office in this massive complex to clear that area. They do want, of course, the employees out and safe, but they also need to confirm whether or not this is over, whether or not that person who died from the self-inflicted wound was the only shooter involved or not. So at this moment, that is what we know. 3 victims at a local hospital, SF General, and 1 person, a female, dead from a self-inflicted wound, and they're looking into whether or not that was the only shooter involved, or if in fact that was the shooter.
And of the 3 people that were shot, were taken to San Francisco General Hospital. 1 is in critical condition, 1 is in serious condition, and 1's condition is unknown right now. But as far as we understand, 4 people shot this afternoon at YouTube headquarters. But yeah, Netta mentioned the search ongoing, which the chief, Ed Barberini, described as a monumental task as they try to clear that building and make sure that there is no more present danger. As for the people that were taken away, well, here's one. This is one of the many videos that have been posted on Snapchat. This woman posting after self-evacuating. And we're not able to hear her voice right now, but you're looking at some of the other videos that we've seen coming in. As for the people, as I was saying, that were evacuated here from the building, they are being put into groups, patted down to make sure that they don't have any weapons on them. And then at that point, law enforcement are deciding if they were somewhere where they're going to have some viable information in this investigation. So those people will then be separated and interviewed as part of this investigation. But we're talking about a massive amount of people. And at this point, law enforcement doesn't want to let anybody get away or get out of that area before possibly getting some information for this investigation. And you're dealing with law enforcement on several levels here. The city of San Bruno, the county, the state, and federal agents right now all on scene trying to coordinate their response to what is still being described as an active incident at YouTube headquarters, though it is pretty easy to judge from the police chief's tone that he doesn't believe that there is any apparent danger at this point. He just said that he isn't able to eliminate that possibility.
Okay, and then, of course, with these witnesses, a lot of the employees reporting they heard multiple shots fired. So right now, to hear that 4 victims involved in all of this, 3 of them are being treated at the hospital, will hopefully provide a little bit of relief. But, of course, for so many people who have loved ones that work at the YouTube headquarters, they want to know who the victims are, if their relatives, if their friends are doing okay. We have heard that SF General will provide an update for us at 3:30 this afternoon with an update on those victims. But right now it does appear that the 3 victims who were shot are being treated. So hopefully, they will get through this, and those doctors there are working to make sure they do survive this. Right now, still police, as you see right there in some of the entrances, there's several doorways to access this building. They have to clear it all out and make sure that this is ended, that the shooter is in fact the person who was found dead from a self-inflicted wound. There may be other people involved, but they have not eliminated the possibility that this is still ongoing, that they're still searching for someone else. And employees in that area, of course, are all calmly walking out, as we've been noticing from our Chopper 5 footage.
Calmly, relatively speaking, though, I'm sure these people are shell-shocked from what they just went through. And again, you're taking a live look right now from Chopper 5, a wider view of this YouTube campus in San Bruno. It's very close to 280 and 380. A lot of streets closed down in that area. So continue to avoid that area as police work through their investigation there on the scene. Of course, we are going to continue to monitor the situation here in the KPIX5 newsroom. We also have our reporters on the scene, Andrea Borba and Mary Lee. We're going to bring you more coverage on Pix Now and on CBSSF.com, as well as live on our Facebook page. As soon as any police updates occur, we are going to bring you to that live right here on KPIX5.
And of course, be sure to tune in at 5 and 6.
Tonight,
baby, I'm on a roll.
The team plays a high-stakes game.
Get LaSalle out of there now. Go, go, go.
NCIS! NCIS New Orleans tonight. The only way to shut a losing streak down.
We have to reverse the curse.
Get fired up.
You guys burned your flag?
New Survivor Wednesday. Meet the new president of the Building Association.
I should have taken that gavel and shoved it right down his throat.
I would have gone the other way, but it would have gotten to his throat.
A new Big Bang Theory, CBS Thursday.
Sorry, I can't make it. It's just my eczema again, but it's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
You okay?
Eczema, it's fine.
Hey.
Hi.
Aren't you hot?
Eczema again? It's fine.
I saw something the other day. Eczema exposed. Your eczema could be something called atopic dermatitis, which can be caused by inflammation under your skin. Maybe you should ask your doctor.
Go to eczemaexposed.com to learn more.
Tell her you'd marry her all over again. The Jewelry Exchange has
not. But I'll just say a couple things. First of all, San Francisco General Hospital, Zuckerberg San Francisco General Hospital, is the only level 1 trauma center in San Francisco. But it means that we receive all the victims who get injured, and these victims came from just south of San Francisco, which is part of our catchment area. But we stand ready 24/7 to care for anyone who is injured, whether it's from gunshot wounds today, from falls, from car accidents, from bites, from all the other things that we do regularly here at the Zuckerberg San Francisco General Hospital. So what happened was we were activated, and when we get activated here, when you have a mass casualty situation, what happens is all the doctors, the nurses, the therapists come down to the emergency room. We do an assessment and we do a triage, working with everyone, and we're able then to deal with all the patients that we had. And we're able to diagnose their problems, treat them, and make sure they get appropriate care. Now, I can't tell you all the specific injuries, but I can tell you one thing, is that when people are shot either in extremities or in the chest, they have significant injuries from gunshots. We've seen a lot of injuries from handguns. We've seen injuries from AK-47s or AR-15s. These are not those today as far as we know, right? But what happens is that when they get shot, it creates a major crisis. What happens is we then have to be activated and care for them. The trauma system starts with the care that the patients receive in the field from our dedicated paramedics. They bring the patients to us after the police have secured the scene, which they did. Once they come in, then we do an assessment working with the trauma surgeons, the ED physicians, the nurses, and the anesthesiologists. We all get together. We do what is right for the patients. So we basically go through things from top to bottom, making sure we diagnose their injuries and we take care of them. And that's what we do here at the Zuckerberg San Francisco General Hospital, the only trauma center in San Francisco. So I'll just tell you that that's what we do. That is what has happened, and I'll begin to answer the questions that you have. But once again, hold on. Once again, this is a terrible day in the United States when once again we have a multiple casualty situation that has confronted us here at the Zuckerberg San Francisco General Hospital.
Can you confirm that these are gunshot victims?
Yes.
Yeah, and
they're gunshot victims.
And what kind of, do you have any indication of what kind of gunshots?
I don't have indication for that right now.
And can you tell us the nature of the wounds?
No, I can't tell you the details of each of the wounds. I could just tell you what he told you about the injuries they had.
You have ruled out automatic, semi-automatic weapons.
I have not ruled out anything because I have to ask the people at the scene.
Okay, I thought you said there was no AK-47 or...
Well, you could tell me that. I don't know that.
Doctor, what does critical mean?
Critical means that the chance that they could die. Right.
Specify what critical and serious condition actually determines.
So usually stable means that they have minor injuries. Right. Critical means that they've had more life-threatening injuries, either truncal injuries or extremity injuries. Truncal means the chest and abdomen and this area here or the head, right? So that means that they've had some kind of penetrating injury there, and then it sort of goes. So then critical means that they've had injuries where they've sustained a blood loss related to some of the injuries that they've had.
So critical, can you tell
It's really for you guys we do that, right?
So can you tell us?
For us, everybody gets shot as critical, right?
You can't tell us where the gunshot was?
No, I can't. That would be violate HIPAA. Would you want me to do that?
Absolutely not.
Wouldn't want me to do that, right? You have to behave today.
Are these patients stable?
Can you talk into the mic when you're talking?
No. He told you what the conditions are of the patients.
Dr. Campbell, why do you think there's not going to be a significant change between now and this evening? Perhaps?
Say again, why is what?
Why do you think there is not going to be a significant change in their condition between now and later tonight? Brett said maybe if there is a change, we'll come back and update you. We're not necessarily confident there will be. Why is that?
So I'll tell you that trauma patients are very active. Now, when things change, they change from moment to moment. So right now, we've stabilized the condition. We put the patient in the appropriate place, but they could start to bleed. And they start to bleed, then we have to operate on them. We have to do other things to do them. And that's basically our best guess right now. But it can change in any moment. That's why we put people where they need to be so they can be monitored. Okay.
Are there families by their side?
Say again? No.
No surgery?
No surgery.
Even the critical patients?
They have not in surgery yet.
Are there families by their side?
I don't know that.
Are they going to surgery, sir?
No.
They're not going to surgery?
Not right now.
Are these patients awake? Are they aware of what happened?
Yes, they are.
All three?
Yes.
Did they say anything you can relate to it, sir?
Say again?
Anything you describe about their reaction?
No, other than shocked like we are every time these terrible things happen.
Can you tell us the process of whenever you guys receive a patient of this level, what's your process? What do you guys get into?
Okay, so just a little bit of education for a moment. So what happens is, sorry about that, every time someone comes in, we use these techniques called advanced trauma life support, which has been pioneered for the last 30 or 40 years. Right, basically what we do is we go from top to bottom to do an assessment. We look at their airway, whether or not they're breathing, right, whether or not we look at the airway, if they're breathing in and out, they're breathing, moving their chest wall, if their blood pressure, the pulse is stable. We then look at the injuries that they have in terms of disability, trying to figure out what their mental status is, and we expose them when we take off their clothes, and we look to make sure we've gotten all the injuries, so we look in every part of the body to make sure. Then we basically then do a secondary survey where we go from top to bottom, look in every detail, look to the head, neck, chest, abdomen, pelvis, extremities to make sure that we have not missed anything. This is a standard thing that not only we do here, but we do that at all major trauma centers around the world, because it's called advanced trauma life support, which is a way that everybody takes care of trauma patients when they're injured. This is the standard that's done at every major trauma center around the United States.
How many shots?
Does that answer your question?
How many shots do they sustain, Dr.?
How many what?
Shots. Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know that number. I don't know the number.
Just want to confirm again to you, they have not been in surgery?
They have not been in surgery.
And did you specify or be more, tell us why they have not been in surgery, or is that too much information that you give?
That's too much information.
Okay.
You guys always want to do that. Like,
yeah, we do. We get as
why do
much
you got to do that? You just like ask the same question. You're almost like lawyers.
The ethnic video of the patient?
No, I can't.
Based on the bullet wounds, do you have any idea what sort of firearm was used?
No, I don't.
And you said it was not an AK.
We don't think so.
And just to be clear, were all three victims, victims of gunshot wounds, or were there any?
Yeah, they were victims of gunshot wounds.
Were they all shot multiple times?
They had multiple injuries.
But you can't confirm if they have multiple gunshots.
No, I can't confirm that.
And when you say they, does that mean every individual person had multiple injuries?
Every person was shot who was here today. We have 3 victims, they all were shot.
But when you say they had multiple injuries, does that mean each person had multiple injuries?
Well, if you have 2 holes, that means you have multiple injuries, right?
Each one of them?
Yes.
So no one was shot once. Each person was shot more than once?
I don't think I can say that.
Okay.
Is there a sense why one is critical, the other is fair, and the other is just serious? I mean, would that be proximity to the shooter?
I can't make that conclusion. I can just tell you that from what I see, because of the injuries the patient has, that they are critical. I know you want to know more details, but I can't give you any more.
Earlier in the day, we were told that more patients were expected here. Is there a reason why you guys are no longer expecting any more?
Originally, what happens is whenever these mass casualty situations happen, there's a lot of confusion, and you guys are maybe part of it, right? We may be part of it, and other people are part of it. And what happens is we're told that we have X amount of victims. So we were originally told we're going to get 4 victims, we only got 3. But we get ready for as many as we have to take care of. That's kind of what we do. We get ready for everyone else. We mobilize all the teams that need to be done to make sure we're ready to take care of any patient who's injured. And that's what any trauma center does when we get a call that we have a mass casualty incident, so more than 1 patient coming in. But the reality is that last week we had a mass casualty situation here. The week before we had another. I didn't see all these cameras out here today, those last week when I was here. Right? I didn't see that. Right? So that's the problem, right? When something like this happens, which is terribly unfortunate, then you guys come out. But the reality is we have to deal with this all the time. We have to deal with the families, the injuries. We have to deal with this constantly. And it's quite unfortunate, right? Because everybody gets hurt. It's important that we make sure we take care of them. We do the best we can for everyone every day.
Speaking of families, sir, are the families of the victims here?
I don't know that.
Is the emergency area still under lockdown? Do you know that part?
It is.
It's still under lockdown.
How long will it remain that?
Not long.
Do you expect that to change within the hour?
We'll let you know.
Yeah, okay. Look, honestly, I can't speculate about that. So maybe 1 or 2 more questions? Yes.
Is it possible that any of the 3 patients might be going into surgery anytime soon tonight?
I can't speculate on that, but I could say that if they need it, we'll do it. Right now, we don't have to do it.
Doctor, when you say this happens all the time, you don't usually see us out here. Are you referring to gun violence happens all the time?
Now I'm talking about you, the press.
Right.
Gun violence happens every day throughout the United States. Happens here in San Francisco, happens in the Bay Area, happens all over the country. Right, but I don't see you guys out here because I'd like to make sure that people know that we got a serious problem that we need to address. No, I don't have all the answers, but I can say that at least we're having a discussion about it nationally, I think, which is a good thing. But this is a real problem.
What's it like dealing with this every day?
It's hard.
Okay.
But
so
we got to go.
Let's stop there. Again, if there are significant changes tonight, I will outreach to the media and let you know about the changes. Otherwise, you can expect to hear from me tomorrow morning when I will give you a complete detail of our status tomorrow morning.
These victims expected to stay overnight, all three?
I can't speculate on that. Okay?
Doctor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Expect in your experience that these patients will all be here overnight?
I can't answer that either.
Yeah.
But I want to thank you all for coming, and thank you for answering questions, and I hope we're able to help you. I know there's some things that we couldn't answer satisfactorily for you, but we did as best we could. Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming
You
out.
have been listening to a live press conference at San Francisco General Hospital. That's Dr. Andre Campbell talking about the trauma center, and there are 3 patients that they are treating right now.
Yeah, we are now hearing word from the hospital. They do, in fact, confirm a 32-year-old female in serious condition, a 27-year-old female in fair condition, and a 36-year-old man in critical condition. Now, the doctor did mention all victims are awake. He said they are shocked, just like everyone else is, of course, but they are awake, so that's good news. They are not going through surgery at the moment. He could not confirm whether or not that was why that was the case, but they do not need to go through surgery, and they continue to obviously treat them for their wounds.
All right, we're going to continue our coverage on PICS Now coming up at 4 o'clock, and then, of course, we'll be back with you on KPI X5 tonight at 5 and 6.
Hold us strong all day. Only C-Bond has gradual release technology. It holds 75% stronger all